Love you. 1, 2, 3.
Allow me to introduce you to the men of tomorrow.
Hello, and welcome to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. We are the men of tomorrow.
We shall become more than men. We shall be gods.
And perhaps one day, gods. But, I am your host.
You insult these learned men with parlor tricks and quackery.
Well, but I also host with my quackery. I am Charles Davwin. And with me, back on camera, is my co-host.
I have made detailed observations on mutated humans.
And that's why he's here.
That's what I do.
We need more data on yeah, exactly. Thomas Flandre.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? That sucks.
Thomas Flannery is the Irish guy that was in the you didn't pay attention to the episodes that we watched?
Okay, well, if I call you Flandre, it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's fine. That was kind of the intent.
Thomas Flandre.
Yeah,
that's pretty good. All right.
Or Flandre, it's close.
Didn't mean to insult you.
Please forgive me, my friend. Frustration got the better of me.
How long have you been holding on to that one? I guess since you watched this episode.
Okay, I've always got a few tricks in my pocket. And another person who probably should be in bed right now, but also has tricks in his pocket, is joining us as well. Friend of the show.
Should be in bed right now.
I need another sample of your blood.
We all should be. I have 2 kids.
I have 3 cats. What's your point?
I have 4 cats.
No, you don't.
I do. I have 4 cats and 2 kids.
So, damn it. Can't keep up with that.
2 of them are right here.
Cat?
No, there's only
kids or the
4.
cats?
There's Parker and Miles, and then there's Arcade and Millie.
I only ever see Arcade and Millie.
Oh, really? Well, here's the other 2. There's Parker.
Jesus, clean up after yourself, Davan. For God's
Don't
sake.
worry about it. And there's Miles. There.
I like how "don't worry about it" just is a blanket statement that covers pretty much everything.
Oh man, it's the best ever. It's like, but if you're from New York, it's like forget about it.
Yeah, I think it's a uniquely Italian American kind of thing, or at least a stereotype for sure.
Well, we like a good stereotype on this show.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going, Dan?
Pretty good. Sorry, it's been a while since I've been able to guest star. I'm glad I get to slide in just before the buzzer.
That's right.
Well, to be fair, we don't call you a guest star. We just call you a guest.
And apparently we just called you Adrian Huff, so I don't know.
Yeah, my bad. Don't worry about that banner.
There's a lot of Davan sweeping stuff under the rug. Yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Davan's like, today we're going to review episode 1 of Gargoyles. I don't worry about that.
Look, I'm having a rough day, man. I've had a rough day.
So have I, actually.
Yeah.
Your day rough?
Because I friggin' got shitty landlords and we're getting evicted in like 60 days.
What, really?
Again? So yeah, again. So like during the running of this show, I've been like rent evicted twice. This time it's somebody moving from Europe who wants to take over the house. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting sick of moving.
I would be. I'm excited to see what your new place can look like.
Yeah, well, new place. There are no new places in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, the rental market's pretty rough as of late.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be fucking rough for sure. Well, you know what we should say though. There it is.
Well, let's catch up on old times.
What are they up to? What you think they're doing up there?
On a lighter note, because this is supposed to be a fun show, let's catch up with X-Man.
No, let's
Dan.
just talk about sadness and depression. What makes you sad and depressed, X-Man Dan?
Oh,
The state of affairs in the world should be enough, but
Garbage
pardon,
island.
You know what? I don't like the way you're taking
garbage
this.
islands will do it.
I don't like where you're
Nuclear
taking this
disarmament?
interview, Andre. All right, X-Man Dan.
Yeah,
What you think they doing up there?
Yeah, I think they doing some things up there. I had a pretty good week. I had good news that I shared with Davan recently.
Oh, what's that?
I maybe hadn't that we kind of kept close to the chest, but my wife recently became a bodybuilder because she's building a body.
What's this? Baby cuddles again?
Oh, congratulations.
So,
Yay.
I assume this is your first child?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to retrofitting my like cool room full of neat toys and stuff into a room full of maybe marginally less neat toys.
baby toys.
Yeah, like not as cool a poster selection, maybe.
Well, you know that you can probably just throw up anything. The baby probably won't notice what posters of the
yeah,
wall.
there's a threshold of time where for sure we can just be like, yeah, you totally watch like crime drama with us. It's fine. You don't get the difference until it's like we'll wean them onto X-Men. So
yeah, you got to
that. Yeah,
you got it, man. Well, now you get the barrage of unwanted parenting advice from me too. That's always fun.
Yeah. Now the internet knows.
And you get me just
talking about his 3 cats as if it's this big
judging other people's parenting skills with no. You get people like me that have no kids that assume that they know how to be a good parent even though they have no frame of reference.
I was catching up on
oh, you see those people.
No, I'm not one of them.
Like when your kid throws a tantrum in public, like all the non-parents look at you like you're like this right asshole, but the other parents are like pity in their eyes. They're like, I'm sorry.
There's this one time like
sorry this is happening to you.
Like 15 years ago when I was like in the store and then this woman like was she was screaming at her kid through the whole store. Like the kid and her were walking through the store, like she would scream, the kid would scream. Like the kid was like just doing kid stuff, but she would just be like, don't touch that. What are you doing over there? Like just screaming at him. The kid didn't seem to care. Like this was his life, and it seemed like this is just how she. Yeah.
Don't do that, Stan.
She was just screaming at him throughout the entire store, and then at the end when they were at the cash register, and I was standing behind a dude. There's a dude behind me in line, and then she was in the line beside us. So 2 parallel lines that were going forward. And then the guy behind me goes, "Hey, maybe you shouldn't yell at your kid like that." And then like she just stopped and turned and started screaming at him, and I was like, "Oh!" And like my friend was with me, and I was like, hey, let's go. And then I turned, like, we got out of the store, and I turned and looked through the window, and she was still, like, screaming and pointing at this poor sucker who was just standing there with his head down, like, just trying to get out of the store.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's praise. That's praise. As you can hear, there's, like, babies screaming in the background in my house right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, so that's how it goes, Dan. Look. But we are here to review.
Screaming at parents screaming at babies. You know who didn't have a kid? Mr. Sinister.
No, well, yeah, but is a clone a kid? Kind of.
Is a kid a clone?
Kind of.
Not really.
Well, we're here to review season 5, episode 9, the penultimate episode of this very series, Descent, starring friend of the show, Christopher Britton.
I mean,
and
is he a friend of the show?
Of course he's a friend of the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't think Chris is a friend of the show?
Well, I never heard him say those words. I didn't hear him say that. I just don't want to assume. You know, you want to make it official before you start saying phrases.
Friend of the show.
You don't introduce someone as your girlfriend until you have a conversation first.
Oh, anyone who comes on this show is a friend of this show. Tell you that much.
Okay. I didn't know the parameters. I'm sorry.
That's the deal. That's the deal. And this is another Melching McDermott joint, just like the last episode.
This guy's had a good run this
one's
season.
Better than the last one. But yeah, so let's get into it.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh no, wait! You guys talk amongst yourselves. I forgot to load up the screenshots again.
Well, kind of appropriate to have the conversation about heritage and genetics because there's a lot. You know, maybe some next points around that, but
yeah,
that's this guy's cup of tea or cup of
soup. You know what? There's like, I have some kind of mixed feelings about this episode, but
it's an interesting episode. I'm all right.
Yeah, it is. It is. Me too. It's I would have loved to have seen it done by like the A or even the B team, as far as the animation goes.
The animation was a bit,
because it has a nice, cool setting. You know, the old England and stuff. It would have been nice drawn a little bit better.
That fog, though.
It was good fog. Nothing against
I've
the
never
fog.
seen fog like that in an
You know, that
animated
fog.
series.
That fog, I gotta tell you, is the best fog I've seen in any movie.
Here in Eastern Passage, where I'll live for another 60 days.
It's just like putting Vaseline on the lens. It's not even like, it's that's not what they did in this case since it's animated, but it's obviously just some kind of a gel.
That's what I mean. I was like, but it's animated. So what did they do?
Probably a gel over because it was just taking this is old style animation, which is literally just a camera taking.
It would just be another cell, like over top of the other one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I like the idea of them Vaselining up the cells.
There's Big Ben. Looking at old Big Benjamin there.
Weird overlay there. See, like, why is like a reflection and a reflection?
Well, that's just how it was in the episode. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, explain it to me.
I'll tell you one thing.
Previously on X-Men.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
You take care now.
When's the honeymoon, Ms. LeBeau?
Not one word, Swamp Rat. Not one word.
No one word, Swamp Rat. But yeah, that's where we left off last episode. We visited Cannonball. He didn't say I'm not invulnerable when I'm blasting, so it was a little bit of a disappointment.
Not invulnerable when I'm blasting.
Yeah, he should have said it. Me and Dan were talking about that before the cameras started rolling.
Did you?
Yeah, because he was looking forward to it too, and he didn't say it.
Almost. I thought he'd said it, but he said something.
Something almost. Yeah.
Yeah, something.
He didn't say the word "nigh," which ruins the whole thing.
It seems interesting to me at this point in the X-Men canon, the comics and whatnot. Like, I guess the comment in the last episode, but like to pick of all the interesting mutants that came around in the 90s and to pick Cannonball as a center point of the episode seemed like an odd choice unless they were heading towards an X-Force
setting up
team.
the New Mutants. No, the New Mutants.
Wasn't he an X-Force?
Yeah, but New Mutants comes first.
Well, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do it in the same order, Davan.
They had to. He was still like a kid. X-Force is when like the New Mutants are already like grizzled veterans because they grew up as X-Men. You're not going to skip ahead and throw him into X-Force. Makes no sense. He's no good to them. They're all just like mercenary assassins. He has no experience.
Yeah,
the New Mutants. Anyway.
It makes no sense if you apply that they're going to follow the exact same stories as they do in the comics.
No, it's not about following the stories. It's about following the logic. X-Force is a mercenary squad. What do they want? Some kid who's not even nigh invulnerable when he's blasting with no experience.
Okay,
no,
it's not logic. It's illogical to assume that they're going to make them a mercenary force. They could make them something else.
They're bringing in Sunspot for the new series, so. Like they're already doing that. They're not bringing him into X-Force. They're bringing him in to be like a young fella at the mansion, like a New Mutant. Maybe we'll see Cannonball again. I actually come to think of it, since they're Sunspot, I guarantee we'll see Cannonball. They're best friends.
We've seen Wolfsbane already. Rain's made an appearance.
Rain hasn't been on
Warlock.
When was Rain on this?
Wasn't she on an episode way back in with Moira McTaggart?
No, she's in the background somewhere.
Nope.
Oh yeah, maybe I'm just thinking because
it's just Cannonball so far.
Warlock.
No Danny and Warlock. Yeah.
Warlock was very prominent. There's a whole series of episodes about it. He and friend himself Warlock.
There's no Shatterstar. There's no.
Shatterstar, the 90th of 90s characters.
One of them.
So wait, are you a clone or a time traveler or a cloning time traveling?
Possibly only usurped by X-Man or Deadpool. Possibly the 3 90th characters ever created.
Oh, don't start like slighting X-Man in front of X-Man Dan.
Well, it's not even a slight.
I got nothing against Snake Gray. He's an interesting. It's just like how many versions of Cable do we need?
I know. I'm not an X-Men guy myself.
We got Cable, we got Nate Gray, we got that little kid version of Cable, we got the Strife. There's a few others running around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kid Cable is just Cable. Earth
But
X
from a
Cable,
different
though.
time.
Actually,
Oh,
no,
right,
Earth
okay.
X Cable is actually just like on the bottom of the ocean, and he
Kid
has like,
Cable-
the
Kid Cable
techno-organic
killed
virus.
Cable.
Like, oh,
How is that possible?
And then, and
Did he
then,
not live? Wouldn't, like, man,
then
this time
Cable
travel
came back
malarkey.
from the yeah, and then he came back from the future and was just like, "Hey, don't kill me. You go to the future." And Kid Cable's just like, "All right." So now Kid Cable's gone, and regular Cable's back.
Comics exhaust me sometimes.
Comics, because comics. All right, take us through, Andre.
The beauty of comics is also the folly of comics. The beauty is
Yeah.
that
Ongoing
it's,
stories.
well, yeah, and like
decades.
exactly, and the tone changes all the time. You get a writer that has a horror bend, you suddenly get like a cool horror themed Spider-Man story, or you'll get some guy
the
that's
Marvel zombies
or something. Yeah, well, that's one a bit far, but some of the others were like, you'll get a little bit of everything. It'll be all different, exciting, but like. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's you get the good with the bad. You also get lots of bad stuff where, like, they got time travel malarkey, and they got people that are other people from other timelines and parallel universes. And if you try to sit there and like, at least the Marvel universe tends to undo in some kind of a way, whether you accept it or not, what happened before. So at least you could reason, you could cohesively say this is why this is the way it is, whether it's dumb.
That's
or
what
not.
hooked me on the Marvel universe as a kid. I'm like, this all just seems
know.
so cohesive, and everything
DC just leans really hard into parallel universes, which is their way of separating everything, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if you make sure you keep it sorted. But then they got people from one universe coming into the other, and then that's the new version of that guy who's from this other thing, and it's too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
Even when like Marvel brought out the Ultimate Universe, I was just like, that sort of exhausted me.
I actually liked that, but then it really blew up really fast and really far. They went so far into making it different that it was just dumb. And then they had like so much going on that you had to buy like 100 comics to keep track of everything. Just like the regular Marvel universe. Before it was like 5 comics and then you got everything. But then it's like, and then now they're bringing it back with this big new thing. So new miniseries is supposed to bring it back. So I don't know. I
supposed to bring what? Ultimates Universe?
The Ultimate Universe is back, yeah.
Yeah, it's back, yeah.
So is Miles Morales back there, or is he still in our universe? I feel like he's a hot
he left
commodity at
that
Marvel
universe for this one, but then all of those universes were
because
destroyed
he
in
survived
Secret
the
Wars.
destruction of that universe in Secret Wars and came to ours.
Yeah, exactly.
So did the Maker.
Yeah, that was my favorite thing about that story. I was like, yeah, Miles. Yeah, so did the Maker.
Maker drop.
And he's been sneaking around. He showed up in a few things. He's going to be trouble. There's going to be a big event around him. He's trouble, man.
He's just evil, Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, which is trouble, man. That's what could be more trouble than an evil Mr. Fantastic.
Evil Beast.
That's worse than Doom.
Evil Professor.
There's already
Evil Beast is bad. Yeah,
there's already a bunch of evil Mr. Fantastics. There's like a parallel universe consortium of Mr. Fantastics.
Well, that's true.
Look at this guy
most of
drinking
them
wine
kill
over
the
here.
evil ones, right?
Oh man, well, yeah. You get bad news, you go to the liquor store. It's like I'm a civilized man.
Hiding your pain behind alcoholism. That's what we all do.
So it is to be human.
All right, well,
let's fire it up. Let's fire it up.
No, I'd rather talk about things that aren't related to this episode for another 25 minutes.
Well, let's just get through it. Then we'll start talking about unrelated things again.
All right. So we see a Victorian era little community. Stop getting ahead of me. We literally just started it. And this woman is walking in the street. And then she is being stalked by a nefarious character who we just saw the picture of way too early with the glowing eyes. But then she runs, and the cops hear her scream. The cops come to try to apprehend this gentleman. She falls down. The gentleman runs away. I don't know. I call him a gentleman. He just tried to murder a woman in the street. So the guy runs away. Then he knocks over
an asshole.
He knocks over what I'm guessing is a prehistoric street vendor. And by prehistoric, I mean like Victorian
prehistoric.
like, did they have hot dog carts with coals in them in Victorian era?
That's like my new favorite soundbite from the whole show.
A prehistoric hot dog vendor. That does have a nice ring to it. But it's like,
it really does.
Did they have like coal street vendor people. I guess they had like street fairs and stuff where they sold stuff, but it just
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
odd. It's like in the middle of the night and this guy's just wheeling around.
That's where you sold your shit. Like you didn't have a store.
I guess. But and I gotta say, this may have to be the most colorful depiction of Victorian era I've ever seen. Mostly everybody's got like muted colors. No, it's not right.
So gray.
Everyone's blue and reds and bright oranges.
This is the X-Men. That's well, like I said. Well, look, who knows what the A team would have done?
Well, I mean, it certainly doesn't seem specific to the or proper to the time period. But anyway, and we get a bit of Keystone Cop chicanery when all the cops run into the street vendor who picks himself
You don't
up.
think this country club scarf is true to the Victorian era?
Not really, no. Although I like when all the cops plow this guy down, like they're chasing dude through the alley. Dude bumps into vendor. Vendor knocks his car over and falls down. Just he starts to pick himself up after the guy runs away. The three cops come running into him and knock him down again. And then they pick him up in the most like undignified way. They just like grab him and like, all right, sorry about that. And then they run off. But however, they lose Mr. Well, actually, sorry, we cut to a gentleman named is it John Xavier? Is that what they call him?
No, he's
James.
Well, James is a variation of John, so I'm technically
no, it's not.
Yes,
Jim
it
is.
Oh, it could be.
Jack,
I don't
no.
know. Shut up, Jack.
Jack
Get out of here. Yeah, Jack.
Forget about it. Don't worry about it, Davan. So,
Oh, Namey Namerson over here.
oh well, maybe you can just do the rest of the episode. I can go to bed as I want to. Fucking asshole.
We all want to go to bed.
I'm
but we have
tired.
X
I'm
Goons,
exhausted.
and we love them.
I have jobs, multiple jobs that I need to do to make money, and I don't want to get flack from another boss that doesn't pay me. So fuck off and let me talk.
We're not boss. We're all equals here.
Uh-huh. So I gotta say,
Some are just more equal than others.
Dan's slightly less equal than us.
Yeah,
Here,
I was
so.
gonna say.
but he knows his place, which is well respected and enjoyed. So we see James.
I did
Xavier.
call myself a guest star, so
It's all right. You are a guest star. You're a guest star on
Yep.
ours. So we see James Xavier talking to the local police chief. I mean, I think it's safe to assume, based on what we're all seeing here, that this is Whitechapel in England during the era of Jack the Ripper. But anyway, this guy is saying how James, the theory that he's informing this police chief of, that Jack the Ripper is Nathaniel Essex, a man that he's been chasing for many years across many continents. This cop doesn't really believe him.
And the cop's like, no, like the dude's supposed to be young, and Essex is too old.
Yeah, yes, that is mentioned. Although it's odd how this plays out later about this part. So
I was trying
there's
to
a
read
couple
that
questions
so
I
bad.
have about this episode. Yeah, I don't know.
Thomas is what it said.
Most things in these little things like this in the show are a nod to something we've found. So
I think it says Thomas is what it says on the side, but it's very briefly seen. So when he's running, then we cut back to the man Jack the Ripper, who we're going to assume he is just for the sake of brevity, is running down this alley. The horse-drawn carriage. Oh,
Jack
man,
the Ripper always wears that hat.
There's too much Vaseline on the lens. I can't make out what it says because there's a scene where the horse rears back and you can actually see the side of the car, but it's so foggy I really can't see it. So the horse rears back, he takes off.
It's a foggy episode. Look,
That fog, man.
The cops
They
get
really
around the
did
horse,
themselves.
but then can't find him. The cops also get hung up on the horse, but then when they get on the other side, they can't find him. Then we see that he's on the top of a building watching from afar, indicating he somehow manages to leap up there or get there very quickly. We see him run across several buildings and then disappear into the street where his eyes continue to glow. We catch some of James Xavier explaining this whole story as to how he came to be where he is with the police chief, whose name I cannot recall. Do they say his name in the episode? They don't.
It's not important.
It's not listed in
the other names are a lot more important.
Ish, yes. But I have a lot of questions about how this fits into canon and why this didn't come up before. But anyway,
well, we're gonna talk about that. That's for sure.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Okay. So We see this James Xavier as a younger man with a less impressive beard. Did you have a picture of him, by the way? See that impressive hair,
who?
beard?
Him?
James Xavier? No, old James Xavier.
James. Yeah,
Look at that. Look at that quaff. That quaff of mutton chop into.
It was there right before.
There he is.
You just had it. Stop moving.
I'm trying.
There you go. Look at that. Look at that beautiful hair.
Yeah, no. Well, there's
He's
no
even
hair
got,
on the
he's
top
even
of
got.
his head.
I mean, I think it's
What kind of freak would have no hair on top of their head?
Some weirdo, obviously, with too much testosterone.
How can your natural selection account for the human soul? Were we not created in God's own image?
So
Tell
we
me
learned.
that.
Well, I have some interesting things about this as well. So that question was posited by the young James Xavier, who apparently believes in God and is a pious religious man.
I've got
but so did Darwin. That's the thing. A lot of these early scientists were very conflicted with their own.
Yes, so we get to a point in the story, which we should probably say, where we're watching a symposium where Charles Darwin is speaking about evolution. That question is asked by James Xavier, who I think we all can assume is a descendant of Charles Xavier at this point, being that he has the exact same eyebrows and is voiced by the same actor. Darwin has some questions about, his entertaining questions from the audience. James, of course, asked that question. I know they're almost the exact same character, like just the way they look, except
we'll accept Charles. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a Charles Darwin here, so we don't want to muddy the waters.
Looks like he's about to drop an F-bomb. Like,
he does too. Good
Charles
catch,
Darwin. It's
like he's like cursing Doctor Strange. That's what he looks like.
So James, approaches Darwin afterwards and says, he is a fan of all of his work before he got into this evolution stuff, and he's not sure if he buys it because actually, there's some interesting witty little dialogue here where he says, like, James walks up to him after the thing, and he says, "So, Mr. Xavier, do you think me a madman or a heretic?" And Xavier says, "Well, I liked your previous work, but I don't know, I feel like you're ignoring God when it comes to all this stuff." He goes, "Oh, so a heretic it is." Like, that was like a nice
mankind overdue for the next evolutionary step.
I have the utmost respect for your early work, sir.
Yeah. So also he's approached by Nathaniel Essex, who we know earlier, I mean, as X-Men fans know, is Mr. Sinister in later times, but he's just a normal human. Point. And he has a question for Darwin about how, natural human evolution is overdue for an upgrade, and that because of what we've created, society, we do not need to evolve the way we would have in the past, and that's stifling our growth, and that something needs to stimulate it. So, Darwin's like, what an interesting theory, blah, 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 moves on with his life.
You insult me, sir.
Way ahead.
Seeking out these curiosities and the traveling carnivals and dumb shows.
Dumb shows.
That's pretty far ahead, too.
Yes.
Whoops. I do that sometimes.
But that's classic.
Right.
Classic.
So we see that we learn that apparently, and I don't remember this being a thing, but in Victorian England, it was not posh to if you were a doctor to look after your own family members, which they bring up in an odd way. So James Xavier is the doctor for Essex's.
They do that now, actually. Doctors aren't allowed to operate on their
too.
family members.
And he's like, as with today, Professor X is like,
that hasn't changed.
That seems ridiculous to me.
They're
I'm sure
emotionally
you could in an
compromised.
emergency. You could it's like you're not barred from administering first aid, but
No,
yeah,
not first.
You'd have too many biases with diagnosis, and there's other things, other factors.
Well, I believe in professionalism, unlike the rest of you.
Well, I, André Myette, could operate on any member of my family and wouldn't give a shit.
I'm not even a doctor, and I do it in a second.
I'd do it in a second.
I have no medical training whatsoever, but I've operated on any of these people.
And a
anytime, just tell me the word. Yeah, just a bottle of alcohol for me.
I, André Myette, claim all doctors are weak. And the problem
then it devolves into Meet me in the ring.
Yeah. I didn't
Play
say
the
they're
ABBA.
I didn't say they're weak. I just said they're low moral fiber. Not a strong conviction. You know, physically they may be strong, but morally they may be weak. That's what I'm saying. Every doctor on the planet is. I don't like to generalize, but every doctor on the planet has low moral fiber. So anyway, we learned that. Yeah, that's right. All the doctors, all our medical followers. So
yeah, seriously.
Nathaniel Essex is married to the daughter of Lord Grey.
Yep.
And
that's a familiar name, is it not?
I don't know what you're talking about. So I guess we're all gonna have that same X point. So
no, I didn't make that one for me.
Oh well, I mean I can use it, but so yeah, we learned that she's suffering from some kind of a disease or some kind of condition. They don't know what it is, and James Xavier is looking into it. Nathaniel Essex is getting frustrated because it's his wife and she's not getting better. And he claims that Xavier should just admit that he doesn't know what's going on. Xavier says that line that you said about you wound me, sir. You know, he goes, but then we learn a little bit later that Xavier or Essex was completely correct. That Xavier had no idea what was wrong with her. And he's like, sir, you wound me. I'm a medical man and I have lots of things that I could do. And I know lots of things. And then the second he's like later in the voiceover, he's like, I did not know what was wrong with her. It's like,
you offend me with your correctness, sir.
And there was this whole interaction at that moment too, when when Mr. Grey was there, and like Essex is like, if you can't figure it out, like then someone else has to. And then he goes to walk off. He's literally just turned around and has not made it to the door, and they start talking shit.
Yeah.
Shade. They're like, this guy though. Yeah. I mean, he's a bit of a wingnut, and I'm like, whoa, literally behind his back. He just turned around, you monsters.
He looked. Anyway. There's some scenes in this with the cloak and stuff. He looks very much like Doctor Strange with a little mustache and everything.
Yeah, I never caught that as much.
Yeah, you're right. He literally I just skimmed by that. Like he's literally barely out of frame before they're even like he didn't make it to the door yet. They're just like fuck this guy.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up too. He's still in the frame, and they're like, "This, yeah, it's insane."
They're like, the animators like, we got time. We got to keep this sucker moving. So,
like, dude, Xavier, your ancestors were like straight up dicks, man. They did not care.
But Lord Greystone's like, he may be brash and kind of crazed, but you know, he's the one thing that brings a smile to my daughter's face. So he obviously is willing to put up.
It's kind of crazy, brash.
We see Essex go visit his wife, and you know, he says he needs to draw more blood, and she asks if she's his wife or his test subject, and they have a nice little moment. He goes to his lab to keep working on trying to figure out what's wrong with her. He believes it's a hereditary disease. We then learn that at some point Essex had.
Here's a question. Is it not a hereditary disease, but maybe some sort of early onset of mutation? Because eventually that line produces Jean Grey. Like, it could be just like, you know, genes being corrupted, but in like that generation just made her sick. And then
but you can't tell if that line isn't produced Jean Grey or it's the Essex line.
I mean, I think it's supposed to assume that it was. I mean, I think they chose that name purposefully to imply.
Yeah, for sure.
But in a vacuum, you could take this whole episode and extrapolate a whole new theory on the origin of mutation, which is probably the topmost X point.
I think because of. Specifically because
Apocalypse would be the only one that
I was going to say. I was just going to say, aside from Apocalypse,
but the thing is that it's posits a strong theory that you can engineer mutation, and that mutation is engineered. It's like ancient alien theory.
I do think it's sort of intended to say, because he mentions that evolution to others is already happening in certain individuals. He says a line. And then when he goes to, as Xavier mentioned, he goes to the freak shows or the freak
dumb shows.
And he does find these guys.
Yeah, and he finds these guys who have
2 episodes ago. You guys were talking about Pinhead and the freak shows. Is when they were movie. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry, the Pinhead's right. Which is funny. Yeah, but the also thing is there is something to be said that perhaps because the two. Okay, so I'll talk about this and then mention that. So with it, he goes, finds these guys to freak show, brings them in, shows them to Xavier, Darwin, and a few other nameless doctor people. One seems to be giving Flannery, Thomas Flannery, who seems to be able to cause mild flame powers just slightly, and the other guy seems to have mild magnetic powers. Like they're not overly strong.
I'll provide you with proof in abundance. I shall show you. I shall show the world.
Yeah, which is
I don't even think Flannery.
Every bad guy's. Oh, he could just be like Pyro.
He got modified into being able to produce flame by the end, but in the beginning, I think he.
That's what I said. You could posit a theory that mutants had very minor, changes in physiology that hadn't got to the level they are now, and maybe this is before they got to the level they are now, or maybe Essex's involvement propelled it bigger than it was before.
I mean,
because there were
today's stuff.
There were great, powerful ones before him, though. Like Exodus was before him.
Yeah, that's But in this,
Selene was before him.
Within this storyline, we don't know all those people.
Yeah, the only ones that pre-exist him, like the only one that pre-exists is Apocalypse. And you could argue half of his mutation is engineered from the alien technology.
When is within this show? But if you take into the comics with it, because Wolverine and Origin would have been when.
Wolverine, he's like 200 years
the other day.
He's 180.
He's not as old as I thought. He's like
180.
1880 was his born in 1882. So I thought he was older too.
No, he's
look it
he's
up.
Like 180.
James Howard in Origins. I was dumb.
1882 to 1992 would be, or 1982 would be 100 years. So that makes sense, Devin.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's not right. Am I doing my math right?
Well, he's about 130, 140.
Oh, okay.
Well, by modern
he used to be listed on the old X-Men card as 180 and 300 pounds.
Well,
there was one of those 90s cards that you and I would both have seen. Yeah. So you're not wrong.
Yeah. So to 1988 to 100 years. So he would have, like in 88, he would have been 100. So actually, if it was 82, you said, because this takes place in 1888. So
no, but remember, he fought in the American Civil War.
That didn't happen. That only happened in the movie. And the other thing about this is this storyline doesn't take place in 1888. The Jack the Ripper part of the storyline takes place in 1888, 20 or so.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Correct. You're correct.
Because I had to double back on that myself, being like, wait, so it is very plausible, if this timeline was correct, that Essex helped Wolverine.
Could have. But he would have got pretty far advanced into what he was doing.
It demonstrates that by 1880 he's so far advanced, he's got that crazy ass suit, and it has other people going and
I love that
for him as he boats his way across to the States. So
there's a funny moment coming up here. So all right, so he does these experiments showing these mutants, but their powers could be explained as parlor tricks, which Darwin believes they are. He storms out. Of course, Essex is upset because he has a real point to prove here, and nobody's believing him. So he makes that threat that I'll show the world.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show all of you.
We see Rebecca's condition improving because he's had a discovery in his big lab there with genetics and altering genetics and stuff like that. Now he's getting a little crazier. He makes a serum which he drinks, which turns his skin white. And then we see him experimenting further on the low-level mutants that he had before. Flanders like, "What are you doing to us?" I'm surprised they didn't stick in. I'm surprised they didn't stick in a little nod to Banshee and make his last name the same as Cassidy.
I thought they were gonna. I was waiting for it the whole time, and just never happened.
Just because there's Irish doesn't mean every Irish character needs to be connected somehow, I suppose. But
they're gonna throw like gray all around willingly.
They already overdid the connections in this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
So Xavier discovers that she's pretty much completely normal. She admits to them that Essex has been giving her treatments. The father's extremely upset because you're not supposed to work on your people that are in your own family. Apparently, he'd rather that than his wife live or his daughter live. He's like, "What? Unheard of! How could he do this?" And it's like, well, he's the only one that fixed her. She'd probably be dead if not for him. But
it's about professionalism.
That's true.
You were just going on about being a professional.
I respect his dedication. He's like, I'd rather my daughter die.
This is why André doesn't have kids, and we don't allow him to.
Well,
have
I may have, but I was the only one that could save them. So you know what happened.
You used to have kids.
A bunch.
Oh, geez.
But someone
they all got tuberculosis.
Yeah, but someone kept poisoning them, and I, as a medical professional, I was the only one who could stop it. But
I don't know if it's a sign of profound friendship or lack of thereof. But
look at that angle on his neck there. That's quite the face. He looks like some kind of marsupial.
But Xavier makes no mention of the pasty pallor of our boy Essex over here. Just shows up.
He never mentions once that he knew him before or had a whole book. Yeah, that's true. He doesn't even like he looks like a fucking vampire over here.
I have another question
just like,
about that.
Oh yeah, I'll come in after you. He goes.
What
all this shit?
Powers did he give himself? All he did was turn his skin white, and then he gets beat up by this bald dude.
No, at multiple points in the episode, he gets hurt.
Oh, he regenerates. He does regenerate.
There's a later point when he's like getting
shoots beams out of his hands too.
No, way later. But how does he get beat up by friggin' James here?
That was also. I was like, what? What?
Well, James has the
power. Like, what the hell? He didn't give himself very good powers if he gets beat up by this old
James
scientist.
has the power of God.
That's a good
God
point.
Behind him.
This may be a chance to stop the most diabolical madman the world has ever known.
So as well as
his growing fascination with human mutation became all-consuming.
Yes.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
As well as acquiring that sweet pasty white skin, he also got those neato round sunglasses that look like a true.
Sure did.
Classic.
One thing I find funny is you can create genetics. You can make yourself. Like, this is Victorian England. You can create genetics. You can make yourself, white skin. You can completely make yourself regenerate. You can cure other people. Yet you're still walking around with a torch. Like he's got. Anyway,
did you see that friggin' microscope? It was like the size of this room.
That's true.
That's true.
Like, what is he working with? The thing is I feel like he must advance so fast because I think one of Sinister's whole businesses is that he can evolve himself. And then if he just mutates I think he over time mutated all the intelligence he needed to make everything in the world.
Well, his whole thing is speeding up mutations in other mutants and stuff. So he just like super does that to himself all the time.
Yeah.
So he's
all over.
Yeah.
But this is like his literal first mutation, first go around.
It's also funny how dumb like villains are, like how myopic they can be. He's like, so Xavier shows up to like.
It takes that type of personality to be villainous. It is not an intelligent thing to be a villain.
So Xavier shows up to confront him, and he's just like, "Come on in. I'm going to show you all the crimes against humanity I've been doing," and like doesn't realize in the slightest. I guess he may be searching for a friend or a partner in this endeavor. But
I feel like there was a moment that Sinister tried to get Professor X to go into the cell.
Professor X.
Like he could have just locked it behind him. I was kind of expecting him to do that.
And there was this thing, and I was just like, what the fuck? So I think that might have been his play. He was like, I'm going to lock you in with my crazy beasties, and then we'll see.
Then he just gives him like a pure, easy way to, like, I don't know. It seemed like it was heading that way, but I don't know. He had lots of opportunity to do it, and he didn't. So,
yes! I've done it! Mad am I, Darwin?
Mad am I, Darwin?
Mad am I, Darwin?
That's a good line.
It's not a question.
Mad am I, Darwin?
He says it as a statement, clear.
That is my favorite line in the episode.
Darwin, you fucking piece of shit. I did it, you idiot. Yeah. So I guess a point that I failed to mention earlier was that Darwin had signed a book for Nathaniel Essex of Origin of the Species. That's what he was hawking while giving the speech earlier. So that's going to come up later. So he shows him cells full of mutants that he's been experimenting on. Xavier's horrified by this. So they're getting a bit of fisticuff. He tries to get the keys to let them out, and they get in a big fight. The keys tumble over to Thomas Flannery's a cell while the two of them battle and fight. Yeah, you're right. He is like it's a pretty even fight considering. I mean, I'd say they're about the same. I'd say they're about the same age in this. These two gentlemen.
He just like pulls the rug out from under him and then like hip tosses him. And
it's actually a pretty intense fight, and it goes on for quite a while.
Yeah,
it would be an intense fight between two equal humans, but like
it's like they live.
I was just about to say that. It's almost like the
riding the Roddy Piper.
Although there's like a solid point where like Xavier's
there's even sunglasses.
Xavier like grabs him, like just pushes him by the chest, like launches him over a table. So big old fight going on. But while this is happening, the mutants use their abilities to get the keys closer to them so that they can escape. And then they all run out into the night. Another thing they overdo to death is use the word sinister in this. They're like his sinister machinations, his sinister work. He's doing sinister things in that sinister castle. It's not quite that bad.
But right when they start looking at the map,
I'll have to remember that when Queen Victoria knights me.
Yeah.
Sinister.
Remember that when Queen Victoria.
So he wanted to be knighted as Mr. Sinister instead of Nathaniel Essex, this like brilliant scientist.
All the freaks run away. They are scared by that. It's that same fucking carriage driver. That guy's a menace. He's almost hit like 3 people in this episode. They run into the street. A carriage driver cuts them off. They're scared, and while being scared, Flannery
how many people have been almost hit by cabs?
Flannery reacts and shoots a fireball into like a local building, which causes a bit of fire. Some local people see it and become convinced that they're demons. He's right. This carriage driver may be the biggest villain of the X-Men series. So not only is he almost run over 3 people, he's just suddenly riles up the crowd saying these people are demons. We all need to kill them right now, essentially. Earlier on, we saw that when he was experimenting, he burned his finger, that he heals very fast. But while the mutants are being chased by the mob, Flannery runs into a local church and Xavier tracks him in there. And, Flannery's just a local, a poor immigrant that came here to make money for his family and got wrapped up in all this. Xavier realizes, he didn't hate them before, but he realizes obviously they're just people trying to make their way in this crazy whack-a-day world just like the rest of us.
It's like, I'm a doctor.
That's my doctor. And he kind of, it's literally like within a few sentences, he literally changes his whole concept about evolution not filtering into God's story and just totally being like, I'm going to dedicate my entire career to working with mutants now. But then he goes out when the mutants see Flannery with Xavier or the mob, they're going to like swarm him. But then Xavier in an impassioned plea that seems to work. I don't know. I always find it funny when someone just gives a speech to a crazy mob and then it turns them all around. Like he reaches all of them at once. It's very, very expedient. So then he said, but also for a guy that's supposed to be like, I all people deserve to live. And, like he doesn't really like Xavier. I guess this is a different person than Charles Xavier.
It's not Charles Xavier.
It just seemed odd that he's like these people are just mutants, they're just like you and I with these weird abilities, but like we can't hurt them, we have to help them. But there's your monster, and points right at Sinister, who's like off the edge. You're like, go get him, and then they all start attacking Sinister, who gets hit by one of them and then heals instantly, and they can see that he is,
that was a brutal hit for this show.
It was like a shovel. They take a shovel to him.
Yeah, and then like gnarly big old cut. All gored up and stuff. I was like,
it is. It's probably some of the most you see in this show. But it's also like, why is that guy walking around with a shovel? It's like the middle of the night. He's on a cobblestone street. So
everybody's got their riot kit, right?
I always have a shovel with me.
And you know what you do when a crazy mob is chasing you? You run back to your house and put your family in danger, which is exactly what Mr. Sinister does. He runs to his house, talks to his wife, says she needs to come with him. She sees
gives him a face slap in the face.
Yeah, she sees that his skin is weird.
Clear, is this his house?
She's like, I didn't marry no albino.
Well, this is Lord Grey's house. Sorry.
Yeah, so
but still, his father-in-law and his wife are there.
Yeah. Gonna get my father-in-law's house burnt down.
So he's trying. She wants. She wants to know what's going on. And there's a struggle. Kind of. She knocks glass off his face. See his eyes are glowing red. she becomes horrified with whatever he did to himself. She may have done to him.
Another like, fuck.
Or he may have
He's
done
about
to her.
drop another F-bomb in that.
There actually, I paused on one. I'm just skimming through the episode when I'm
It's
talking.
true.
And
He
there's
keeps doing it.
they do that a lot in this animation style because I was just skimming through and there's a point where James Xavier is doing that too. Like that was like it's a close-up shot of him going like this with his teeth, like he's about to say it as well. So the mob busts in, they start smashing up everything. You know, Lady Grey doesn't want anything to do with him, so she runs off with her dad. You know, they watch their house burn down as the mob smashes everything, and you know, we get a little overlay of the Sinister's nefarious face. Then we see that Xavier made it his life's mission to track down Essex and stop him from his mad experiments. We see him going across Nepal and all these different places, trying to find him until he eventually tracked him to where we are now, which is 1888 in Victorian London. We see the guy that the cops were chasing bring a package to Xavier, which is, I can use this as an X point, I guess, but is, if you think about it, possibly one of the most disturbing things in this entire show. But he hands him a package, and then Sinister's angry, calling this guy Jack, saying that he gave him his ability so that he could help him, and he wanted the next one alive. But Jack seems to enjoy his work too much, as it were. So, but then, but then as Xavier and the professor find the room, it's too late; they're already gone. And Xavier's, but left behind was the Origin of the Species book that Charles Darwin had signed for Dr. Nathaniel Essex. So James posits that he may not ever find him in his lifetime, but hopes that his family will carry on his work. And then we see Xavier wake from a dream and look at the book, which is the Charles Darwin book signed by Essex that he has on his nightstand. And then we get some interesting little color stuff with like lightning and stuff on Xavier's face where he's staring. End of episode.
That was
end of episode.
That was the strangest ending.
Yes,
for me,
which totally negates. It makes no sense within the broader scope of the show.
No, I mean, I don't know how far out on a limb. How involved was Sinister in the time-space continuum kerjiggery of Apocalypse?
None of it.
Didn't he just?
He was working. He was working for Apocalypse.
Right?
Oh, he was just a henchman for Apocalypse.
Yeah, and before they all got sucked into the thing, he's like, I'm not a crook.
Yeah, he just gets in a portal and disappears. He has like a teleportation portal. I think one of his mutants do that.
You could stretch some sort of attachment to time and space with the professor having experienced that and seen things in reality in a different way, such that he's like, my mission now. It's clear. Essex is the problem. But it was just such a weird ending. And the way that it's sort of the facial expressions. Yeah.
Each of us will have to look into his own heart and decide.
André, decide.
I mean, I kind of like this episode more than like there are some glaring plot holes, I think, but all in the animation is obviously the BC team. But I mean, I did like it. I only give it an 8, I guess. It's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. It's interesting. There's some fun stuff, and the change of pace was interesting.
Yeah, same with me. I give it an 8 for all the same reasons. I was expecting to be a little bit less impressed with it than I was. It's like, yeah, that was kind of fun. I liked all the Darwin stuff, and look at me now, Darwin. You think I'm mad? Like, it was hilarious.
Call me mad, will you, Darwin?
Oh, sure.
What about you, X-Dan?
It has to be full points, right?
Full points on this show.
7. I don't know.
Seven's fine.
Some of the cores. I don't know. If you look back on my episodes, I'm pretty sure they went like 9, 9, 7. So it's a pretty big D mark. I was a high marker, but I like Essex a lot, and there was some whiffs for me. But I guess like a lot of it was staged. Like the concept was sound, but some of the breaks in interactions were kind of like they kind of broke my immersion for one, and the weight of the conversation, which was essentially this breakdown between like God and science, wasn't dealt with delicately enough, or it got thrown around in these like moments that like I feel like the climax of it was just this symbolic representation of Darwin's book that like literally Professor X puts back like the Gideon Bible into the drawer next to his desk. And I was just, what are you trying to portray? Like either hit it or don't. Like, just I didn't get what the message was trying to be. I didn't want to relate to like James Xavier's message. It didn't make sense to me.
No, me neither.
And then he's supposed to be the protagonist. It's all coming from his point.
But
A lot of what
God?
Essex was saying made sense.
For
And,
me,
like,
the Sinister was the good guy the whole time. He was
like, and then I felt conflicted because
It's like we don't need to let genetic disease kill us. We could do something about it. And then they're like, "Fuck you."
So there was a lot,
What does God say about that?
But was he ever the good guy? Because even to do that, he was taking down old Flandre there. Like it's not like he was treating him well. Those two guys were not comfortable in that.
Yeah, they were.
Just like,
at one point, he's
"Can I
like,
get
"What are you
out of here,
doing
man?"
to us? What mad experiments are you doing to us?"
So, but then it's like, what kind of madness does like watching the one you love deteriorate with no hope lead a person to? It's
That's true.
Very well developed story. I don't know. Maybe I might talk myself into an 8. I don't know, because at the end of the day,
there's lots there.
Just so conflicted. There's lots there. I'm a big cameos guy though too. And I was literally like, "You're not giving me anything."
What do you want in that?
I want to see a
Yeah,
shadow.
you got Lord Grey.
I know. I really just
got
wanted to see like some of the
Ancient
Hellfire
Xavier.
Club references, because it should
That would have been
predate
cool. It
them.
would have made sense for sure.
Dennis wants to
Without-
see
yeah,
Kang the
without them being
Conqueror
alone.
teleport in and teleport out.
No, you know who I wanted to see.
Immortus
Was
to showed up for a
Exodus.
brief second.
Exodus would have been my number one.
Exodus would have been
referencing.
sweet. It makes no
Yeah.
sense, but
No, he was still stuck in the rock from the Crusades,
yep.
I think.
All right. Well, I can kick us off, I suppose, with the next point. All right. So, survival of the fittest, which is interesting because in this particular telling of the Sinister story, he isn't enhanced by Apocalypse, at least not at any point that happens in this story. But he does say he becomes somebody else says it about him, I believe, that he becomes obsessed with survival of the fittest. But that's exactly what Apocalypse is obsessed with as well. So it's kind of an interesting kind of kinship between those two, and it wouldn't be surprising for them to hook up later in this story, later in Mr. Sinister's life, and then get enhanced that way. Because they're both into survival of the fittest. They could just be like chatting, like Apocalypse could be disguised as a human, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, survival of the fittest is great. Let's kill all the weak people." Like, yeah, that's my first X point. André.
Jack the Ripper's package he's delivering to Mr. Sinister would be the organs of the prostitutes that he's cutting out of them, specifically the hearts. So, because that's what Jack the Ripper did. So, it's pretty dark.
Gruesome.
He's like, "Here's this package." He's like, "I wanted this one alive." So, like, Jack's just been slicing up prostitutes and cutting up their organs and giving them the Sinister for his experiments. Why prostitutes specifically? It doesn't really imply if they're mutants or not, but how many mutant prostitutes are wandering around Whitechapel at the same time?
That was a cover-up. They were just saying they were prostitutes when they're finding desiccated bodies, because clearly there was a mutant conspiracy at the time.
Oh, of course. Okay. So
Sinister having been so active. See, I've got all these like strings attached now. I haven't watched the episode.
That's always Sunny meme where he's just like crazy with the red strings.
That's exactly it. So I was watching and I was like, okay, so are they trying to imply that? Because it was like that thing that I had laid out. This story can't take on the layers of complexity and backlog that the real 616 universe kind of posits. So were they trying to suggest the Jean Grey line was that Grey line? Did Essex?
Yeah, for sure they were.
No, but like, did he make all of the mutants basically? Like we said, did he make every mutant capable of being what they were? Would there have been no mutants if he hadn't had this catalytic event like jump-starting himself, then therefore finding a way to jumpstart mutant kind, because you've seen enough, you've read enough to know the breadth and depth of his power as is realized in the 616 universe. If he were potentially able to just like go exponential, so he's like, I can do this to myself, how far can I go, how much can I add, how smart can I be, and then just starts putting it into the water systems, into the aquifers, making things
He doesn't have to
on
put
a
it into
mass
the
scale.
aquifers. It's been stated in the comics, Mr. Sinister has a sample of everyone on Earth's blood.
And where would he have, like, he must have been going ham by this time in the 20 years that he started. So is it not even, it's like, that was my first X point. Either all those mutants that he made became some ancestral like heritage grouping of Morlocks, because they say they all went to the sewers, but the sewers in London don't obviously connect to the sewers in New York. So
sure they do. The channel.
So that was
Good
my
old
first
channel.
my
Good
first
old
X
channel.
point, I guess. How deep does the channel go? Is the X point.
Indeed.
Oh, and there's the
Good
point
X
I missed in the talking where Jack says, like, I got these free Essex. He goes, the Essex is no more. This day forward, you shall address me as Mr. Sinister.
Well, my
Shouldn't he be
next X
doctor?
point-
I guess he was kicked out of the doctor's college, but you know,
yeah, he was kicked
Dr.
out of the
Sinister
Royal Academy or Royal
Why would he
Society.
adhere to that? He obviously doesn't care about anything else they have to say.
Right.
Do you think I'm mad, Darwin? Anyway. But speaking of Darwin, my next X point is there's an X-Men character called Darwin. So this Mr. Sinister isn't the only connection to Darwin in the X-Men
The
universe.
guy from First Class, they added
No, he's actually cool in the comics.
He's one of the OGest.
Only in that movie would they be like, hey, let's take the unkillable character and kill him. That's cool.
Yeah, but
They
he's
call him
like
Darwin.
the meaning of retcon, though. Like, he literally was like a non-existent character until they made a character that had to like,
try to rescue the team from
backstory.
Krakoa.
Yeah.
It was like Darwin and Petra and Sway and Vulcan.
It's like someone says, like, oh, he was one of the original X-Men. You mean like with Cyclops and Iceman and them? No, like before them.
It's like second
so
X-Men.
Was it before them? Yeah, like you hear them. It's like
the OG
X-Men. Kind of an obscure. It's like the hipster X-Men. Like, it's obscure and rare. You probably haven't heard of them. It's like Swedish.
I like that. The hipster.
André.
At no point ever does Xavier ever mention that he had any association or his family had any association with Mr. Sinister. He seemed as surprised as anybody else when Sinister showed up in the past, and had a lot of questions as to who he was and what his deal was. So it makes zero sense that Xavier has a history, or his family has a history of hunting down this guy.
But there's also that time Sinister called him and he's like, Xavier, I need your help.
Yeah.
Like
when the Warlock these guys were taking over the Phalanx.
I have a theory about that.
This is part of your crazy.
All right, make it your next X point.
All right, go for it.
I mean, there's something really emotional for the destruction.
Look at Dan's book of conspiracies there.
Oh man, he's really rocking it. He's
I put
deep down the rabbit
too
hole.
many points.
He's like, wake up, sheeple! It's all in here.
Yeah, wake up! Apocalypse is taking over.
I named this essay "Descent, Dr. Essex, Part of Our Heritage."
Ooh.
I mean, one of the lowest or highest hanging fruit is my X point, actually, and I'll just jump to this one because you're definitely not going to get it. Is Flannery, sir? Thomas Flannery reminded me so damn much of
Johnson, sir. Molly.
Patrick O'Neill.
Patrick O'Neill.
You know what I'm talking about.
Kathleen Williams.
So
Johnson, sir. Molly Johnson.
This whole thing is just about.
It could have been the same voice. It could have been the same actor. I mean, it is. They're both Canadian productions.
True.
I believe it.
That'd be hilarious. What a friggin' nod that would have been. All right. Well, my next one is dumb shows. So dumb shows, as defined by this Oxford Dictionary, of course, is a piece of silent action or stage business, especially in the Elizabethan and Jacobean theater. These shows, such as the one before the play scene in Hamlet, suggest by mime and symbolism what is shortly to take place and its meaning. That's what dumb shows are.
What was the dumb show that you're referencing?
Well, they
The episode
dumb
they say
shows.
where they get the freaks are from dumb shows and basically freak shows.
Oh, right.
Yeah, dumb shows.
Seeking out these curiosities in the traveling carnivals and dumb shows.
Traveling dumb shows.
I think dumb shows is a nice way of saying freak shows in this instance because I don't think they're
dumb shows is actually a thing in the theater.
Doesn't sound very nice.
It doesn't.
In retrospect.
Yeah, I guess even freak show doesn't sound great either, but dumb show sounds slightly worse.
Look, nothing is more important to me than the health of my freaks.
Yeah, I'm sending you to a veterinarian.
All right, to you, Andre.
To me, Andre. Oh, wait, I did have an next point. Where'd it go?
Flandre.
Oh, this is the only episode of the entire series to not feature a single X-Man.
Not
What
Professor
about
X at
Charles?
the end.
Charles is an X-Man. He's their leader.
No, at the end. Oh,
Charles is an
come
X-Man.
on.
He's their leader.
Come on.
Okay,
Come
fine.
on.
Of the super team itself, this is not
All right.
the first.
All right.
We have not seen. I mean, how can you be an X-Man if you are X?
Mr. Sinister has the X-Men keyword.
The X stands for extra power. Stan Lee makes that very clear. It doesn't stand for
Obviously,
Xavier.
Xavier.
It stands for extra power.
Come on, that's just something Xavier says. He doesn't look like an asshole.
That's something Stan Lee says.
You name them after yourself? Oh no,
No, it stands
because
for
they have
extra
extra
power.
powers. You know, extra starts
Well,
with E, right? Yeah.
No, not in the
No,
90s.
no. Don't worry
You could
about
say
in the
that
60s.
Professor X,
Don't worry
Professor X
about it.
named the X gene, which was named after itself, and the X-Men are named after.
So there's
the
an X chromosome
gene.
and an X gene in this world.
Well, actually, in the comics, the things, the gene, Mr. Sinister figured those out first, and he named them the Essex genes.
Full circle.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
so
lot
does
of
that look
Do you,
narcissism
Dan?
going on here, I must say.
There is.
My next we touched on was just like all of the religious overtones. I felt strangely about Professor X's conviction being like, but what about God? And then like,
But what about
again,
God?
the finale just being Professor X like Gideon's Bible is now this, and I'm just so weirded out. But there was a final line by Sinister himself saying this will be the new Genesis, and then Sinister saying, Essex saying it to his wife, we could be an Adam and Eve of our own society. So
Mhm.
there's just the
lot of
layers
that,
were
yeah.
there, but it's like, yeah, layers don't.
I think
make
that
a
was
layer
kind of
cake.
in a way, one of the smarter parts of the episode, though, because it was trying to relay the things that like Darwin had to deal with and stuff. Like they even have
Yeah.
Darwin say, he's just like, well, I have not applied my theories to human beings yet. Just like
the
just
smartest
get
part
the
about
religious people off
episode-
his back.
there was a literal quote that's the mechanism to heredity. I found the mechanism to heredity.
Yeah.
Is what he said. I have to unpack that. It's like,
Yeah.
you're talking about genetics, or sorry, you're talking about eugenics.
I was gonna say eugenics
At this
specifically.
point. Yeah, like at this
If
point.
we're getting specific here, it's eugenics. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, my point is, back to the religious overtones and that whole balance. The only thing worse than a eugenicist is a racist eugenicist, I guess.
Well, once you start, figuring out that certain people are weeding out certain attributes and certain types of people.
That's what I mean. Like,
It's
it
a
only
slippery.
gets
It's
worse. For
it's a
being-
slippery
it's just-
slope that
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
final explanation, I was wondering how they were going to handle the British accents in Elizabethan England, and they
They
just
don't.
said, nah, we're
They
not going
just
to
don't
worry
do
about it. It's not going to worry about it.
It's
So,
like I was watching.
I-
Me and my buddy went and watched that new the what's his face, the guy that did Rogue One, Graham. No, the creator of that new movie that just came out, the sci-fi one. The guy, Jesus, Gareth Edwards directed. So when I'm watching this, I'm like, there's a trailer for Ridley Scott's Napoleon with Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm like, and Joaquin Phoenix starts talking. I'm like, oh, so he's not French in this? And then my friend's like, no, they're just not doing the accents. I'm like, okay, like we're just not gonna do it. He's not French, or if he is, I guess he is, but he doesn't need to have French accent or speak French.
Nope.
History.
History.
That Irish accent, though.
Yeah, that was money.
He
It
said
was
he was
definitely a
Dr. J.
Cassidy.
Well, there's interesting like
Hey, check this out.
He was
My-
probably just
my-
on like Banshee's
Yeah.
mother's side. So
We
it
each
wasn't
have
the
one as a
Cassidy
point.
name.
my
No.
do we?
No
we
way.
did-
That was 10.
I did 3
I thought it
already.
started. Oh, it's each. It's 10 in total.
Yeah, it's 10.
So I did
What's your last point?
well, I was just gonna say
Oh,
that
it wasn't
it's-
anything. Yeah.
Oh, it's
What
not
were you
even a
gonna
point
say?
for me. I was just gonna say, like you could kind of posit that perhaps Jean Grey's genetics can hurt him because the experiments that was done to Jean Grey's descendant, were the same ones he did to himself. Perhaps that's why her powers would hurt him. I have no idea why Cyclops' powers hurt him so much, because he genetically is not related to anybody that's involved in this, unless there's a Summers rolling around in there.
I was waiting
I
for
didn't
them to
catch-
mention a Summers, but it didn't happen.
That's why.
Maybe-
he
But
went
it does
maybe-
across
explain
the
his
ocean.
obsession with the gray line. He's just
Maybe
like
in
the
a
person he
strange
loved.
twist of events,
you know.
Gray is Cyclops's descendant and unrelated to Jean Grey entirely.
That's very strange.
Or
I
they're
don't like where
related,
you're going
and
with
that's the
this.
whole-
Or maybe they're brother and sister.
Hey, check this out. This is our comic reminiscences and recommendations segment. Mine, I'm going to make it short and sweet. Go read The Mutant Massacre. That's when Mr. Sinister hires the Marauders to go kill all the Morlocks and as many mutants as they can find. I actually don't have those Uncanny issues. I think it's Uncanny X-Men 210 to 212. I have 209 and 213. But no, I don't have those issues. But I do have the side issue of The Mutant Massacre where Sabretooth kind of goes nuts after he kills the Morlocks and becomes like animalistic and feral, and he ends up in the sewers and he kidnaps this girl to make her his mate, and Daredevil has to like save the day. So that's a classic issue. But
What
yeah, go
caused
check
him to
out
go crazy?
just all the murder of the Morlocks. Like he went,
Bloodlust.
it's like kind of like a henhouse syndrome with a fox. Like they just go crazy and kill everything, even if they're not going to eat it. They just kill everything in the whole henhouse. And that's kind of what's happened to Sabretooth.
That's how I feel every day, Devin.
You just kill every hen in the henhouse every day?
Yes.
How many
Hence.
wings do you eat?
Oh, yeah. I could go for some wings right now.
Oh, it's a wang thing. All right. Andre, what's your recommendation?
Well, it seems rather on the nose, but I thought, let's go for it. The Alan Moore classic about Jack the Ripper from Hell.
From Hell.
An amazing book by Eddie Campbell and Alan Moore that posits an interesting theory that other historians somewhat subscribe to as well about the true identity of Jack the Ripper, and puts a fun spin on it. It's a fantastic book. I highly suggest it. The movie I didn't think was as bad as some people do, but it's not fantastic. But read the book. It's fantastic. The book itself is great. Al Moore's the man.
All right. X-Dan, what you got?
Is it 1 or 2 recommendations?
One about books right now. Comics.
And just to clear that up, Andre, Alan Moore hates you and your recommendation. Anyway.
Oh, I know Alan Moore hates his all of his what? He doesn't hate his own book. He doesn't hate his own book. He hates the film.
No,
adaptation.
just anyone who would ever read it or like it or anything. He's a very hateful man.
No, he likes his fans. He just doesn't like all the adaptations of. He doesn't like any adaptation of any of his work, pretty much. Anyway, sorry. Continue, Dan.
He just keeps selling them all.
Actually, he just gives all the profits. He just gives all the profits to the artists. Whenever they give him money for anything, he just gives it to the artist.
Right on.
So they're Eddie Campbell and Dave, the guy from what's his name? Not Stevens. Who drew Watchmen? Dave something. Great writer. But anyway, not Denny O'Neil. Or Kevin O'Neil from Leave Extraordinary Gentlemen, or any of the guys that did the art. They seem to make bank on that stuff. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Dan. I'm going to cut you off.
X-Goon Ryan Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons. Yes, thank you.
X-Goon Ryan's always got our back.
Thanks, X-Goon Ryan.
He was a guest star before too.
Yep.
We appreciate
last episode. right,
Yeah,
what you
I
got,
was gonna
Dan?
recommend. This is just one issue, but it's kind of an enclosed issue. It's issue number 14 of Uncanny X-Men during the AVX run. It's a side issue that kind of revolves around this underground society of Mr. Sinister clones that don't know they're clones, and they have a hierarchical system and a
It's
whole class
hilarious.
and caste
This sounds
system.
awesome.
And he pits
Yes.
them against themselves in class wars all the time for social experiments. And he's got huge, what would you call them? I guess wildlife preserves of different clones that are like mentally modified. A bunch of Remy's. There's a conversation one Sinister has with another, being like, "That accent, is it genetic?" And the other's like, "No, but it gives such good character." And then just like program them all to have like Remy LeBeau accents.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. So that would be my recommendation.
Nice. Go check it out. All right, moving on. Let's go to where are we?
You don't like the movie? Change the channel.
My remote. Where's your remote taking us tonight, André?
Well, I thought, why not just also touch the nose or go with the obvious answer. So this episode is called The Descent. It is now spooky.
Did you pick the
Halloween
movie
season.
from hell?
Let's do the movie Descent.
Okay.
The movie Descent by Neil Marshall.
That's a good movie.
I believe it was his first movie. Don't
like
watch
that
the sequel, but watch this one. It's fantastic, atmospheric movie. That is the most claustrophobic thing I think I've ever seen. And I don't think I'm claustrophobic, but I feel like I could be after watching this movie.
You ever seen Das Boot?
No, actually, but I did listen
That'll
to a
make you feel
podcast
more
about it one
claustrophobic.
time. So it follows a group of women that go spelunking together that have their own interpersonal issues, that kind of like any friend group that come to light while they're trapped underground, and they may while spelunking, but they may not be alone, as they soon discover there's something else lurking in the caves that they're trapped in that is some kind of race of primordial human-like creatures that live underground that start stalking them. And they're crawling through little caves. They have no light. It's completely dark. They're these weird pasty underground human things chasing them. It's a very disturbing and awesome movie that as far as horror movies go is one of the good ones. And just for fun, I threw in, because I grabbed The Descent last minute, but I had this one already keyed up. It's called Freaked. It's a great movie by Alex Winters, who stars in it. And has
I love that movie so much.
Randy Quaid, William Sadler, Mr. T, Bobcat Goldthwait, Brooke Shields inexplicably is in it. It's never got a Blu-ray release, but the DVD is rare. This is worth like $300 on Amazon. I found it in the store the other day for like $10, so I'm very excited that I got it. But it's a very rare, awesome movie that should have a Blu-ray release at least. So Shout Factory, Scream Factory, Arrow, one of you guys picked this up.
Frig. Do you think that the Wolfman is actually Keanu Reeves?
It's the cow, the cow person.
Is the same person who plays?
Well, it is Keanu Reeves. He's like the guy that's like a cow man. That's Keanu Reeves in a costume.
Oh, right. I thought he was the Wolfman. But yeah, he is in the movie, eh? But
yeah, it was just a little cameo because Alex Winters had him come in to do that.
Because for that puts my heart at ease. Man,
yeah, it's a fun, interesting. Yeah, it's a crazy Gonzo movie about a child actor now, like a kind of an asshole adult actor that gets roped into becoming part of this freak show, and this lunatic geneticist experiments on him and turns him into a freak. Very interesting, very weird, and but unique and fun. And I'm a big fan of Alex Winter, and I think it's worth watching. Definitely fun time.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
He had a two for Halloween. It's for Halloween.
That's quite a garden you've got there.
Well, I'm just going to say, if you're going to move anything, do it now. If something in your garden didn't perform as well as you'd liked, try a new spot. Move it now. Move that apple tree that's not producing apples. Move that perennial you'd love to see get more flowers, and try to find a spot that suits it better, whether that's more alkaline soil or more acidic soil or more sun, less sun. Figure it out, move it around, try new things. It's time to experiment in the garden because everything stops growing, but you can still have a little fun. Experiment. All right, that's it for me there.
You didn't mention playing Plantasia for your plants.
Oh, and Plantasia. Check out Plantasia. Actually, yeah, I was gonna do a Sweet Tunes for the X-Goons, and I didn't. But check out Plantasia by Mort something.
Garson.
Mort Garson. Sweet Tunes for the X-Goons. But yeah, check that out. I've been listening to it. I've probably listened to it like 5 times in the last couple of days.
It's the happiest music I've ever heard. Is it working for the baby?
Yeah, she loves it.
It's actually my alarm on the my phone as well. It always wake up in the morning. That's one of the songs from it. Yeah, check it. If you haven't heard it, it's early electronic music by Mort Garson, who's Canadian.
It's like Ode to Spider Plant, and like
So in the 70s, he got contracted by Sears to make a record that they can give away when people bought plants to play for your plants to help them grow. It's called Plantasia, and it's just electronic music. There's no words, but it's beautiful, calming, lovely music. He has a few and it's got reevaluated as being like a really good record in recent years. They re-released it on green vinyl and all this other stuff. But because he's had a new cultural reappraisal, some of his old stuff is getting re-released now as well, and it's all really good. He's on any of the streamers, but check him out. He's fantastic.
Cool.
Yep, do it. This is the part of the show where we
music is
kick back, put our feet up, and get some Dan time. What's up,
Do you
Dan?
have a whole segment just for that?
Yeah, just to get some Dan time.
Devin's got far too much time on his hands here in the
It's just enough for Dan.
He only has 4 cats and 3 kids. He doesn't know what's going on.
Well,
not nearly as big a burden as 3 cats.
That's right. You see, it's kind of like once you have 4, they just look at each other, but 3, well, they're not even.
Yeah.
It's odd numbers.
Well, you're
It's
downplaying
chaos.
the 2 gremlins he has to take care of back there.
Well, actually, there's 3. You see, there's one there too.
Oh shit!
Actually, I got 4. There's one behind my computer.
I don't know, Dan. Just tell us something other than listening to this podcast and watching X-Men cartoons that you do in your Dan time.
Or just tell us why you love our show and why we're fantastic and why I'm your favorite host.
What?
Yeah. Why you're my favorite?
I love that last little bit. He's like, wait, what? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's whatever.
I mean,
Whatever, man. What goes on in Dan's
longtime lover of the X-Men, the animated series. Obviously, super stoked when Davan got this one kicked off. I had a little harder time keeping up with the recruiters. Don't tell Dave. But really latched on to this whole podcast, not only because of the inclusion, but the content. And there's that sort of anticipatory nature to it, because for me, it's all this build up to something that I'm just super excited for. Strike or no strike, strike be damned. I still just am so happy that there's going to be more X-Men 90 stuff coming down.
Yeah. Strike's over now. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the writer's strike, not the actor's strike. One of them's over.
Yeah. Now the animators will go on strike.
Yeah. They should.
Yeah, they should probably. Yeah.
They
It might probably mean definitely.
Sorry.
Some of them did, I think. I don't know. I don't keep up on all that too seriously.
But no, I mean, things have been going well here on the East Coast. Safety works still. Keep doing stuff on
Safety Dan, keeping us all safe, shutting her down.
Is that what you do, Dan? Are you a safety person?
He's safety guy.
Safety
Dan, we call him.
In what industry are you a safety person?
When everyone needs to be safe.
Yeah, could I plug my business place? It's not profit business, so I guess Construction Safety Nova Scotia is the organization, among other organizations that work. They have a sister organization in another province that help people to develop and maintain safety programs so that they reach a national standard that's recognized.
That's very cool.
Easily bid with the symbolic representation of the work they've already put into it. So, yeah, do some training as well as administrative and manual development consultation in the company.
No, that sounds interesting. Very interesting.
And Dan used to help me landscape, and we'd drive by construction sites and imagine just sending Dan in there losing his shit about how unsafe everything is and just shutting it down. Like, look, we're shutting it down. They'd be like, who are you? And he'd be like, who am I? Who am I? Like,
who are you?
Yeah, exactly. And see if he could actually shut down the whole thing and send everybody home. It would be funny.
The things you can do with a high vis and a hard hat.
Yeah, it's true.
But
who am I?
But my background was.
You'll find out who I am. You
don't want to know who I am.
Yeah, you don't want to know. Exactly.
Yeah. So I had to get into the woods before my back broke, and I couldn't. So
and your baby arrived.
Safety is a safer profession. Yeah, more benefits for the baby.
All I need now is for you to contact your students, Professor.
What's the homework for next week? Well, not next week because Andre's going to be on vacation. We're going to be off for a week.
That's right.
What's the 2 weeks long homework?
I just want to let the I'm not going anywhere. I just want the anticipation to build for the final episode of this.
That makes sense.
This portion of our journey and of this show, which will be episode number 10 of season 5, graduation day, in which the show ends in a way that seems unsatisfying to everybody that's ever seen it. So I'm looking forward to watching it.
And then we're going to review the movies. You want to join us for one of the movies, Dan?
Oh, yeah. I'll
pick the worst one. That'll probably be the funnest episodes.
The worst one's taken.
It depends.
X-Goon Ryan's join us for X3.
I hate Logan the most, and it's like classically many people's favorite movie.
You hate Logan the most?
I hate Logan for reasons.
I find it overrated as well.
There's lots of reasons, starting with the very first line being "fuck."
Yeah.
Which is probably one anyway. But I do love X2, which I'll get behind you.
Oh, X2 is the best one for sure.
Look, it's one thing we're gonna find in all these movies.
Wolverine jumping down.
Oh yeah,
reviews.
Well, even like
the people who were making those X-Men movies knew nothing about the X-Men. They're not X-Men fans. They didn't know anything. No, Bryan Singer didn't know anything about the friggin' X-Men.
I won't say a good
word. You can't say that. Like you don't.
I
know
can.
That he didn't know anything about the X-Men.
I guarantee you, before he got the job, he knew nothing about the X-Men.
Do you understand what the word guarantee means?
Yes.
Okay, I don't think you do.
I'll back it up by a policy.
A stringent policy.
Procedure.
No, it expiry after the end of the show.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I know he is famously stated as talking often about how big a fan he was of the X-Men comics.
I'm sure
whether you thinks the movie doesn't represent that. I mean, there are other things at play beyond just what the people that write the movies and direct the movies are not always the same person. And the studio often has something to say about how they're written because of what they want out of their movies. I'm not defending him. The guy's very problematic for a lot of other reasons.
I was going to say that's the thing about I won't.
Yeah, I'm not going to defend him. I'm not going to defend him. Yeah, no, I'm not going to defend him as a person, but I'm just saying that you can't. There are a lot of factors at play when it comes to this stuff. I think the first one for when it came out was pretty accessible to what it needed to be. I liked it quite a bit. The second one is really, really good. It's fantastic. Third one is
not really, really good. It's okay for an X-Men movie that's not really very X-Men-y.
Okay, so this is the same.
What it gets right is it makes the humans the villain.
This is the same argument anybody that likes the comics and can't accept they change anything in the movies has. Like
you can change things, but change them for the better.
But not enough. You can only change the things that you
drain
think
it of
should
its
be
essence.
changed.
No, but you can drain things of its essence.
Okay, it's not drained of its essence. It's about people with powers being judged and hunted by people that don't understand it. That's the X-Men. The movie's
it's the characters they don't get. I get that he read the tagline of the X-Men and knows that it's about prejudice and he can latch onto that. But he didn't understand a single one of those characters. He didn't understand Cyclops. He didn't understand Jean Grey. He didn't understand the only characters he put anytime. He read the tagline about what X-Men's about, and then he read the line about how Xavier and Magneto were supposed to represent two sides of the coin, the MLK Malcolm X thing. That's all he knew, and that's all he poured any effort into. And the rest of the characters, he's like, oh, and Wolverine's supposed to be the cool one.
If you're going to come to this with
but he's not the cool one.
You're going to come to these movie episodes with the same energy you bring to your movie podcast. I don't think we're going to get along very well.
Well, you've come up with a good theory on like forcing.
I don't have a theory.
Things, not theory, but a format to say like 5 good things we like about it and 5 things we don't like about it, and it forces some positivity into the episode. Otherwise, it wasn't going to have any.
Cool one. Like,
yes, Colossus is cool. Wolverine
is
always
one
fun.
line.
I more so meant Iceman's like it was.
Colossus has one line. He's not Russian or anything like Colossus. No, he didn't understand any of those characters or care to.
Colossus was cool to see him, but it was very out of place for everything about his character as a developed character. Yeah. I don't disagree, but I disagree with 2 of your assessments.
In a movie
I think he hit Cyclops and Jean dead on the mark.
Yeah, I agree.
What? Have you ever read a comic with Cyclops in it? He's not just this like jealous turd all the time.
He was during that.
He was in this cartoon,
and he was for so long until basically he decided, like basically until Regenesis, at which point there was like a no.
There was nothing redeemable about that Cyclops portrayal or the way that
because
character.
He wasn't that redeemable.
But all of us will say Cyclops is one of our favorite characters. And not because of any way he was portrayed in that movie.
Well, based on the point, all the things you probably like about him came after that movie came out.
That's what I'm saying. And Cyclops has never been one of my favorite characters. You know this. Even at best of times. I take his brother anyway.
I don't know. I like him because he was. I liked him less when they made him all dark and edgy. I liked him better when he was like the X-Men's Captain America, and he was just like a good guy that did good for the sake of good. Well, comics are full of like so many dark anti-hero struggling people. It's like every once in a while, it's nice to have a paragon of virtue, and Cyclops was that until they said no.
Captain America's not even that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. The things like, and when they need it, then they find the necessity to change a character so dynamically. It's so troublesome because like of all the things he's already gone through, that was the catalyst of all the things.
And they never cheating.
It's like now he breaks down of all the things that they've seen and done. Why
they did him way dirty in the third one.
Anyway,
yeah, I could go on, and I will during this.
This is time for one of those. Yeah. This is for those.
So if you can support the show at patreon.com/X-Men Review Show. We just launched some new merch. You can get your Magneto is Right white hoodie now. So check that out. And contact us at xmenreviewshow@gmail.com. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Find our audio-only version wherever you get your podcasts. Please like, review, and subscribe. And you can check us out on ufpodcast.com. We have a .com.
Ooh.
Just like it's the year 2002.
.com, you say?
When people went to websites.
Geocities.com / X-rated X-Men Review Show.
Yeah, exactly.
.html.
Yeah. That's us.
That's our site.
Check us out exactly at that address.
we got the MIDI music. We got the little GIFs, the little X's spinning. It's the real time.
A lot of flash.
There's a link to Hotel Chat in there. We're all set. ICQ boots up automatically. And then we're working on MSN Messenger, but it's kind of complicated. So if we get that sorted out, we'll get you hit you up on there.
Well, speaking of good energy, hold up a movie podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say download our episodes on LimeWire.
Season 2 will be coming up next week. We're starting off. That'll be fun.
Exciting.
Yeah, we were talking about space movies with Cousin Dave, who was recently on. The Graphic Histories podcast. Other than Cousin Dave, how was your interview with Cousin Dave?
That's a caps lock, Davan. Ignore that. I'm not yelling at you. That's it's just that logo you wanted. Yes, great conversation, Cousin Dave. He came out on Monday. We just bitched about Davan the entire time. It was pretty great.
Pretty much.
No, we didn't.
I listened to it.
He did not at all. But I did tell him.
Like, do you ever listen to friggin' Devin's movie show? What an asshole!
No, I did not say any of those. I did find it interesting that he did somewhat pick that movie just to spite you.
Oh
so
yeah,
that was pretty funny. But no, we had a great
I
talk
get
about
spite picks on that show all the time.
well, that's not as fun for the fans. I'm really gonna stick it to Davan, and then we're gonna talk about this movie that no one's gonna like for an hour. No, that's fine. I enjoy your guys' show. It's fun. So yeah, no, it was good chat. We talk about sort of this federation that we were all part of, and has learned some shocking developments about your relationship with cousin Dave. And and I wouldn't go so that far, but no, it was cool. Very cool guy. I learned a lot about him, and his love of podcasting, and inexplicably his love of reality television. That he somewhat.
Speaking of which,
hey, this other podcast,
Super Mater Brothers.
Him and his brother.
They're over there right now, actually.
Are they watching Big Brother tonight? Because that's what they do when they talk about it, don't they?
Yeah, they're talking about it now.
Yes. Well,
who's your next guest?
Stephen Gordon.
Gordon.
I said E. I corrected myself. You're not going to yell at me.
Yes, I do.
Who I don't think that episode is going to come on the normal day because I was supposed to record that yesterday, but he canceled. So because of that, I didn't get it recorded. So it may not be before at the normal time, but it shouldn't be soon after.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. Really looking forward to talking to him. And I got some other cool people down the pipeline thanks to Davin's help.
Yep. Got 80 coming up, eh?
I haven't talked to him yet, but yes, I will.
Nice. Oh my god, what did I just do? Zoom in on my screen? I don't even know how I do that. How do you zoom out on a screen?
Zoom in. Enhance.
Oh boy. Well, that's gonna be weird. All right. I don't even know how to end the show here, fellas. Exit full screen. There we go. I fixed it. That was bad. All right. Well, looking forward to that. And we also have trivial debates. I just did a horror one, and I'm doing another horror one on the 15th. Check that out. We just had Mortis Media join us on the last one. And we got like Mark DeVoe joining us on the next one.
What did you discover?
And,
What did you discover?
Did I discover?
Yeah, what debates? What did you learn in your trivial debates?
Oh well, we learned what was the best jump scare in the history of cinema.
Was the one I said right?
No, wasn't.
Then it's not right.
And they're wrong. See,
absolutely.
So tune into that and see how wrong everybody was. And the Hellbound podcast we have Alex Blackburn, Michael Chan, Eamon on Track with Eamon Mater, and of course our many Star Trek shows on our Live Long and Podcast Network. They're all amazing. Check them out. No one does Star Trek like us, so check it out. And that's it. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. It's great having me as always.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Like having you join us.
It's nice to have him on the penultimate episode of our series here.
And next week we'll be joined by our other financier, Daniel Blanchard. So looking forward to that.
True Dans don't make it right.
Yep.
Let's find. Is he one of our Patreon subscribers?
Yeah, he's the other guy paying for the show. There's Ryan and there's Daniel.
Oh, when you said the other, I was like, is Dan paying for the show? No, he's not paying for the Patreon. Oh, so we just, I guess if you're a Patreon, you just get on the show now. Is that the requirement?
Yeah. When you're the only two guys supporting this show, you get on this show.
All right, sounds good. Hopefully they don't have any backwards right-wing ideas about things they want to use this as a platform for.
Oh, I don't think you'd be a fan of us if you did.
No, you couldn't. Well, or an X-Men fan in general, probably.
Or an X-Men fan in general.
They keep editing out my portions.
Yeah.
It's like this would be the most amazing editing job if this were somehow credited.
That's right. We're just like totally. He just comes on. He's like, I got to tell you about the one world government. Oh,
they wouldn't let me show you my wall.
Yeah.
Have you seen my notebook?
Yeah.
All right.
This is only volume 1.
Catch you next time, everybody.
Next time.
Good chicks, then.
What's this? Baby cuddles again?